Welcome, algebra people. Welcome back to your almost done, almost completed e-learning experience. You got 3 weeks after this week, so you're so close. Finish strong. You are almost there. Don't give up. That's my words of encouragement for you today. So what we're going to start is solving inequalities. I'm kind of putting a hold on systems of equations. I think that we have battered those down in the past 4-ish weeks, and I think it's time for a break. Now, you have not finished systems of equations. You have not learned elimination yet, and you probably remember from last semester that we're skipping some stuff with that, and that's okay. Your teachers for next year are aware of that. Whoever the teachers are that you will have will know that you have not learned systems. We are in communication about that, so don't feel stressed. You should be good. What we're going back to is something you have actually learned a while ago. So you're going to be taking these notes. It is okay if you want to print these. I have the printed PDF version available for you, but what I really think that you should do is, if you don't have a printer, grab a sheet of paper. Make your own old-fashioned notes. So what you have is this special little chart that we got going on. I want to make sure that you have this chart, so you can draw this chart, write it down. You can take a few minutes to do that. And then we have 6 problems that we are going to go through, and I'm going to kind of leave the last 2 open for you to do. So today's assignment should probably take you in between 20 or 30 minutes, just like they're supposed to, but it is a little bit of a longer note section, so gear up. All right, here we go. First of all, I hope some of you are just screaming at me through your computer saying, Miss G, I remember what this sign is. We've kind of gone through this actually a few times before we have even done inequalities. We did it a little bit earlier in the semester. I can't even remember what we were actually using it for. I think it was just maybe a nice review as we worked back on those bell ringers as you walked in every day. But this symbol right here means greater than. Greater than. Okay, when you're using it on a number line, you have an open circle. So let's say that I had something like x is greater than 7. This tells me I'm going to use an open circle. So on my number line that I would complete, if I had 7 right here, 6 is obviously to the left of 7, and then I got 8. Well, 7 is going to be an open circle, so when I graph it, it looks like this, 7, and then it's greater than, all my numbers greater than 7 are on this side, like 8 is greater than 7, so I'm going to make my arrow go that way. Now this symbol right here, we now have a less than symbol. Less than. Sorry, sometimes this just takes so long to write, and I don't know why. Less than. So let's say I said something like x is less than 1. So on my number line, I would have 1. I would do a number less than 1 like 0, greater than 2. And just like we said before, it is still an open circle, and it's all the numbers less than. So it goes to the left. So I hope that's a good little review for you. You can, of course, pause this video at any time if you're feeling a little lost. This right here, this symbol, is a greater than or equal to. So I think you actually learned these all the way in 5th grade, I think is when they were introduced, maybe even earlier. But I know that they're easy to forget. Greater than or equal to. There we go. Greater than or equal to. And this is a closed circle. So let's say I had a problem like x is greater than or equal to, we'll go with 5 this time. I got 5 right here. I got 6. I got 7. When I say greater than or equal to, I'm going to do a closed circle on 5 and work everything over to that right side because everything is greater than. Okay, but remember that it is a closed circle because it's greater than or equal to. And then my last one, I'm going to write in cursive because it seems to work better. This is now less than or, whoopsie, it's a dumb pen, equal to. There it is. Less than or equal to. And I think you could probably do the same thing. Draw another number line like x is less than 2, right? And you would have this line. Here's where your 2 would be. I'm going to move this down a little bit so that you can see. There's your 2. There's your 1. There's your 3. And we're talking about less than, so I would draw a closed circle on 2 and everything less than. So, you've graphed those things before. You've done it before. I hope that was a good little review. We're going to now move into the new stuff. And this new stuff is exciting because really we're going back to solving an equation, which you've done a ton of at the beginning of the semester. Don't be afraid of solving these things. Just think about it as I have a different sign rather than an equal sign. Instead, I got greater than, less than. I have greater than or equal to. I have less than or equal to. I got those 4 options, okay? So you can see these steps. You're going to solve it normally. 1, distribute. 2, get your variables on one side. Get your constants on the other side. Solve for x. It's everything we talked about where x wants to be by itself. So let's start with this first one. I'm hoping that this one you're going to be like, okay, I can do this. I really can. The second one is when we're going to introduce some new things. But let's first start with this. So I'm going to say, okay, plus 12, plus 12. I'm adding 12 to both sides. So I'm trying to get x by itself. So that means 8x. And as I'm adding 12, those nicely add to 0 for me. I keep that greater than or equal to, and I'm going to get 56. I want x by itself, so I'm going to divide by 8. Divide by 8. Divide by 8. So x is equal to 56 divided by 8, which I know from my facts is 7. Now, we are just at the point that we did before, right? Before what I said is, okay, I'm going to put 7 in the middle, and I'm going to fill in my number line before then, so like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got greater than or equal to, which means I have to color in my circle at 7 because it's greater than or equal to, and I want all the numbers greater than 7. So I graph that thing. Now, these 2 questions at the end are really meant to really answer that question. Do you understand what you're doing? Do you? Do you actually understand? Okay, so name one solution that works. Well, look over here. I'll show you in yellow. All these numbers over here, they work in our equation, right? 7, 8, 9, those are all in the red section, so that's a good thing. So one number that works would be 8. One number that does not work, well, over here, I don't have any red happening over there. So one number that doesn't work would be like 5. So it's really saying, can you understand what that number line is? Okay. Let's try another one. And this is where life gets interesting. I want x by itself, so I'm going to start by adding 2. Remember, you can pause this video at any time if I'm going a little fast for you. It's a nice thing about these videos. And I want it to be greater than, this is going to end up being 88. Okay, now, here's the interesting thing. I'm going to do some division. I'm going to divide by 4. A negative 4, divide by a negative 4. Maybe you remember this from last year. When I divide by a negative 4, or if I decide I need to multiply by a negative, something really important happens. If I am dividing by a negative, I should automatically have warning signs going off in my head. I am dividing by a negative. I'm dividing by a negative. Oh my goodness, Miss G, I'm dividing by a negative. You got to say it over and over to yourself. Look at this number 5 in our steps. If you multiplied or divided by a negative number, you must switch your inequality symbol around. So what that means, oops, I don't want that. There we go. What that means, I'm going to start by saying, okay, I know that I just have x. Those divided out. Over here, 88 divided by a negative 4 is a negative 11. I am going to switch my negative sign. So instead of a greater than sign, I'm switching it to a less than. You can see it right here. It started as a greater than, and I just switched it to a less than. Okay? So if I'm dividing by a negative number, I got to switch my sign. It's just one of those fancy rules that you got to memorize. So I'm going to then go, and I can do this now. So if I were you, maybe I'd even pause it and try to graph this thing. Remembering that negatives can be a little tricky, right? you're kind of working your way backwards on a number line with negatives. So don't confuse yourself. Okay, there's your negatives. It is not an equals then, so I'm going to keep my circle open. And I want all the numbers less than negative 11. Okay, less than means I want all the numbers to the left, less than. So my arrow is going that way. Like I said before, if it's touching my arrow, that means it works. So negative 12 is a great solution. But something that doesn't work is something that's not touching that red. So like negative 10. Okay, so if it is dividing by a positive thing, you're going to be good. Dividing by a negative, you got to switch it. And I don't know how to exactly get that in your head, but you just got to switch it. Okay? Now, you're going to notice something on this next one that sometimes is where people mess up. Okay? You are going to notice I'm going to start by getting all my k's over to one side. So I'm going to subtract 4k. Some of you are going to be like, oh, Miss G, I'm subtracting a negative. That means I got to switch my sign. No, that is not what that means. If you subtract, you're fine. You don't need to change anything. It's only when you divide or multiply. So this is just going to be negative 2k minus 11 is greater than or equal to 1. Now I'm just solving this thing like I know how. I'm going to add 12 to both sides. Add 12 to both sides. It's going to be a negative 2k. Why did I add 12? Miss G, what is up? I'm adding 11. There you go. This is going to get me 12. Now I notice, I'm dividing by something that's going to change my life. I'm dividing by a negative, and we talked about this. When I divide by a negative, it's like those warning signs should go off. I'm dividing by a negative. Something crazy has to happen with this sign. It has got to switch on me. So that means this is going to be k is less than or equal to a negative 6. Okay? And now I can graph this. So I'm going to say, okay, negative 6. We talked about this before. The negatives always are a little tricky on our number line. Hopefully as I'm doing it, you're like, oh yeah, I have to switch that, don't I? Okay. It is a less than or equals to, so that I know that I need to shade in that circle. And I'm going to the left for less than. A number that works. Well, luckily, a number that works would be something on that left side, right? Any of those numbers with the red, so like negative 8. A number that doesn't work would be like anything over here, like a negative 5. Okay, so my hint for you is just you gotta be real careful. Now this is what I'm gonna have you do. I am going to have you do number 4 and number 5 by yourself. If you feel like you need more practice, you can do number 6. Number 6 is going to be what I would call optional. So you don't have to do it. Okay? When you submit these, optional, I'm going to be looking at, did you actually do number 5 or number 4 and number 5? Okay? Those are big questions. They're important. So I want you to try them. Please, please, please try them. Remember you're distributing. Remember just to solve them like you would. Okay, and then I'll give comments. So your comments will either be like, looks good, you got them all right, or hey, you messed up a little part here. But make sure you have the rest of these notes, and then I want you to really try those last 2 and let me know how they go. Okay, so if you need help, just send me a quick email. I'd love to Zoom call you, and hopefully you have a great day. I'll see you.